Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass Move. And for today's episode in our lively Liverpool series, we've got a game here against Chelsea as promised, and there's a couple of things of course to update you on. So a huge game at Anfield. If we win today, we manage to close the gap obviously temporarily to Manchester City. At the same time, we do have to bear in mind that they're way ahead in terms of goal difference than anyone else already this season. But of course, we're in a good position ourselves, second place, 29 points. If we beat Chelsea, we open up a gap between ourselves and the Blues with about, I think I'll make it about 7 points. So that would be good. Sort of send them down the table if possible, and just keep ourselves at a distance from them. We have to keep chasing Manchester City, hope they slip up. The only difference between ourselves has been the one loss extra that we've had, and of course the better goal difference as mentioned. Bournemouth though also having a hell of a season. You know, you'd expect them at any point to start dropping down the table again, but for now they're in the Champions League spots. Eddie Howe, I guess, doing an amazing job, unless it's not him anymore, but that would be unusual. Actually, I want to have a quick look at his stats. What does it say he is as a manager? He's a really good manager, actually. You know, if he wasn't a Bournemouth manager already, for example, I'd probably decide to sign him for my under 20 managements, or under 23, sorry, under 18s, one of those. But anyways, Manchester United also doing fairly well in 4th place. Chelsea and Tottenham are chasing quietly behind. I mean, you know, there's not much goal difference, not much points, sorry, difference between all these sides. It's pretty much just Arsenal out of the traditional big six who are far behind. They were much worse off early in the season as well. They're slowly starting to climb the table, and you'd expect them to be you know, amongst the top 6 soon enough. Probably Bournemouth drop off and Arsenal catch up kind of thing. But anyways, in terms of what happened since the last episode, pretty much really just good news. I think we showed you the game against Everton. We managed to beat them there 2-1, and then we've just had a series of wins. It's just been on and on and on. So we beat Bayern 3-0, an incredible result, down to the performance from the players, and sort of a tactical tweak that caught them off guard, I suppose. But Firmino, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Henderson all on the score sheet. Chamberlain as well has sort of come into his own in recent matches, and it's good to see. He's the only traditional winger at the club at the moment. I think Sadio Mane is another winger, but he cuts inside from both wings. That's one of his preferred moves, so it doesn't really make sense that he's an actual winger. And he can do the inside forward role, which is what we have him under this season. Anyway, Southampton was a 2-0 result away from home. A good win, really, a good result against the tricky Southampton team, and we were away from home as well. Firmino with the brace, which was always good to see. Crystal Palace, we just sneaked by them. I was going to say snook. Is snook even a word? But yeah, we just sort of just crossed the finish line barely with a 1-0 result. Firmino with the goal within 5 minutes, and we just had to hold on till the end, I suppose. Crystal Palace tried to throw everything at us in towards the end of the game, but we still managed to hold on. Besiktas was a very convincing 4-0 win. We seemed to not only just be winning, but winning while keeping clean sheets, which was good to see. Firmino with a brace again. Pepe scored an own goal, and Lallana rounding things off after returning from his injury in the 94th minute. Huddersfield was tougher than it looks. They managed to score first and managed to overturn the game entirely through Marco and Vidal in a penalty, both coming in the last 10 minutes of the game. So it was one hell of a comeback win, and there were serious concerns and signs that our tactics are starting to fall apart. It's a bit of an issue. I'll show you quickly just what I mean. We can go to the team tactics screen, I suppose. But yeah, I feel like a complete wing back on attack, it suits us best, really. You know, we're looking for crosses from the byline. We're looking for those overlapping runs. We're looking for players who roam from their position. I think support has the same instructions, so I may consider going to support, but it's only if they still overlap. That's my main issue with the tactics. So I'm going to have a quick look after this game. Maybe we'll do it in this game as well, depending on how well Chelsea are doing. But I think we're a bit too attacking down the flanks, and with the rest of how our tactics is and the way we're playing, you know, control is very sort of a wide. Our width is just balanced at the moment, but it's naturally wider. And obviously the high line and all that, it seems to just sort of let teams catch us off guard on the counter attack. All it takes to undo us is a quick through ball and we're screwed. So it's a bit too flaky or unsolid, if unsolid is even a word for my liking. I don't like my teams to be undone with a single pass. So Gomez and Wallace, most of my defenders actually in truth have a decent amount of pace on them, so it's good to see, but obviously they're never going to have the same amount of pace as a poacher, for example, or a very fast winger or any of that sort. But yeah, I think, you know, it's just something to keep in mind. The tactic that we used to beat Bayern was actually this one, so a little bit more defensive, dropping our players deep. They're still playing as their preferred inverted wingers. Obviously, it's not their best or their most comfortable role. They're sort of unconvincing, both of them here. Well, actually, Chamberlain is a winger, so that's fair enough, but Coutinho is competent, and obviously we want better than competent. We want natural as much as possible. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it, I feel. Playing with two defensive mentalities in the middle of the park just seems to make sense because everyone else is so attacking and to cover the fullbacks. But maybe if we go into support for both Vidal and Moreno, we can start to consider playing Milner on a support role instead again, and just sort of lock down this, you know, our weak area here, and obviously to try and support Gomez and Wallace. At the moment, everyone else gets forward, and sort of these four blocks here who are being the players left behind to defend. And while it's good to have four players back, the problem is that if we're facing a team playing, you know, fast wingers or with any real width, they really will expose this problem. And despite having the numbers, because of the empty spaces here, they can take advantage of it. So it's just something to keep in mind. Every formation and every tactic has a weakness and a strength, and we're just keeping an eye on our weakness to make sure that teams don't start to exploit it on a regular basis. Having said that, I think we can kick off. We can talk about, you know, who's playing today and why, but as always, it's really just standard stuff. Form, fitness are the only two reasons why I wouldn't select someone ahead of someone else. But in terms of the players themselves, first choice players, we've got Simon in goal, which is standard for a Premier League fixture. We've got Gomez, who's getting a little bit of a nod in the centre-back position. He's been playing quite well recently since he's come into the team. Wallace getting a nod as well, so we're not really playing with a first choice centre-back pairing, and hopefully you know, this front three here of Chelsea is very experienced first choice. They're going with the first choice team overall. But I don't like to drop players if they're in good form. It just doesn't make any sense. So we're just going to keep going with it and hope that Gomez and Wallace can come into their own. Fullbacks, Moreno is also a backup, but he's been doing really well all season. In fact, he's been better than our first choice Robertson, who's actually complained about game time. And you know, he's a new signing. He's expecting first team football. He'll just have to start to adjust to it and hope that, you know, whenever he gets the opportunity, he performs. Vidal first choice anyway, so we're okay for now. Klein's coming back from injury very soon, hopefully, so we can move on Flanagan. It's almost January transfer window time anyways. We're in November at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, we'll move on John Flanagan, have Klein and Vidal for one season, and then when Trent comes back, he's already a Premier League player, so he'll be ready for us next season. Henderson and Milner in the middle of the park. Henderson's our first choice, sort of starting to slowly get into our games now. And performing, because in the beginning of the season he really wasn't, and Jorginho was getting most of the game time. Milner though also getting a nod ahead of Chan, and he's not even on the bench actually. He's sort of started to really drop off in terms of form. Marco just getting a nod ahead of Lallana at the moment. He's been performing well, but obviously Lallana at the moment he's fit and firing. He's going to be the first choice without a doubt. Oxlade-Chamberlain on the right, for the obvious reasons, as you guys saw, he's scoring goals, giving assists. Coutinho on the inside forward, I think he's also one of the players who's slowly starting to get adjusted to his new role as an inside forward and the tactics and all that business, and hopefully that may continue. Sturridge is leading the line, and only for the one reason, which is that Firmino's injured. Our strikers have had some serious problems, and this is exactly why I'm worried about Sturridge, because if Firmino's not a player who's normally injury prone, he might just be having a bad season, and so if Sturridge is someone who's injury prone and he gets injured as well, we're suddenly very short of numbers, so it's a bit of a problem. But in terms of how long he's out for, it's 4 to 6 weeks, so it's quite some time. We're going to have to operate without a backup striker for a while, but obviously we do have backup players who can fulfill that role. We just have to hope, beyond hope, that Sturridge is not going to get injured, and if it continues, to be honest, I'm just going to get to the point where I'm just going to sell him despite his ability. Karius has also picked up a relatively serious injury. We've got Camille on the bench as a backup goalkeeper now. He's one of the younger team's goalkeepers. But yeah, 2 to 3 months is serious damage, and it's quite unfortunate because a lot of the cup competitions are ongoing at the moment. and that's the only time he'll get game time, and that's the only opportunity he'll have to actually become a leading goalkeeper, which he has a hint of potential more to do. But if he keeps getting injured, and at his age, it's very unlikely that he'll become a leading goalkeeper. And the likelihood is by the end of the season, we'll be selling both Karius and Simon, and just get rid of them both, bring in a leading goalkeeper, and have a backup youngster potential in goal. Chan's also unhappy because he asked for a contract, and I told him no, basically. I'm not a fan of just handing out contracts for no reason. I understand that he's on very low wages in comparison to a lot of other players in the squad, but he had some time left over on his contract, and so I refused. The truth is, I didn't even know it's 2018. It's just whenever a player asks me for a new contract, I just say you've got plenty of time remaining on your contract, and then I re-sign everyone's contract, give everyone extensions that needs extensions a year before it ends. I don't really like to do that business of rewarding form with contracts, because it puts your finances in serious trouble, and the more this FM game goes on, the more higher the wages are. Players just, the inflation and whatnot, so it's not good for club transfers or club finances and all that business. But yeah, having a look at it now, he does obviously deserve the money, and he obviously does deserve the extension. It's just a matter of him complaining, really, but we'll definitely tie him down. If he's unhappy, it's not the end of the world. I'm sure there's other players who can take his place. I feel that's it. We can definitely start off. So they're playing with their usual formation that we see in real life as well. The back three is going to be a bit tricky, but hopefully these front four can really take advantage. Not necessarily weak on the flanks, but we did, I think, defeat Chelsea earlier in the season in the League Cup, so they're sort of playing the same kind of players and same formation. We're playing a different type of players in truth. I think we had more first teamers the other time around, but maybe we can actually still get the same results. So we're not necessarily favourites, but we'll go with the media team talk. That seems to always motivate your players quite a lot in truth. If you never know what to say and you have that option, just go for it. It's always such a good one. So yeah, I think we can finally kick off now. I hate blabbing on and on, but I feel like I do have to cover some things, particularly when quite a run of fixtures have gone on, and we did play a number of games there. So either way, it's finally off against Chelsea, and let's hope we can continue our good winning run. We had a bit of an indifferent form before the last episode. It was starting to get a bit worrying, but maybe we can continue winning, and hopefully today too. No real highlights within the first 14 minutes, but we're getting one now, and Chelsea are on the ball. Are they going to expose the weakness that is on our flanks? They do have two very high players, bear in mind, a wing back and a high winger as well, not just a wide midfielder, an actual attacking left and attacking right wingers, so it's a bit of a problem, but hopefully my players are smart enough to deal with the threat and know where they're coming in. But we might have to consider, by the looks of this highlight, to be honest, they look a bit dangerous, so may consider changing it to the 4-4-1-1 instead with the inverted wingers. Having said that, Marco's through, he finds Coutinho. Can he go across? No, he goes solo instead, which is fair enough. He had the opportunity to go to square it, but he decided not to. If he scored, it would justify his decision, but at the moment that's very upsetting. He's missed our first clear-cut chance of the game. Henderson from outside the box tries to play in Chamberlain, who's actually still on inside forward. I forgot. Let's add some width to our team, have him as a winger, and yeah, if you're wondering what type of tactics I feel like eventually going towards, inside forwards probably work best with what we're trying to build. But I'm more of a fan of the winger formation, so I feel like we will tweak our tactics slightly, not just roles, but also the actual tactics and instructions and all that business, because I'm a fan of wingers. They provide plenty of width, they're happy to drop back, they've got a lot of work rate, and so maybe I'll eventually move towards that, and Chamberlain can be a part of our team in that sense. But if we're performing now, there's no point of changing things. If you're winning, if it's not broken, why fix it? That type of business, I suppose. Milner with the delivery. We always go outside of the box. I haven't actually set pieces, if that makes any sense, but it looks like I don't need to. Chamberlain with the goal, with an assist by Henderson. But yeah, we seem to be quite dangerous from set pieces. I think based on watching this Liverpool team, I'm so sorry, I forgot to actually put the replays on. Based on what I've seen from this Liverpool team, if I ever would set pieces again, I would definitely do play the ball to the outside, play the ball to the player who's outside of the box. It really seems to undo teams. I feel like when you do the short corner, it doesn't seem to undo teams so much, but when you play outside the box, no one's really marking him, and if he's smart enough on the ball, he can definitely find someone free. He can even play it back out to the guy who took the corner, and that guy can try and put a good decent cross in. Anyways, absolute domination over Chelsea. They've looked slightly dangerous at times during highlights, but I feel like they just do that on purpose to try and get you scared. But overall, they haven't created any clear-cut chances. I don't think even any half chances. We've had more shots on target, and a hint more of possession. We seem to be doing much better than Chelsea. The problem is, we need obviously a goal or two more to try and just solidify our position as the winners of this game. But yeah, a win is necessary. It's good to see that our only player who's in the referee's book is just Alberto Moreno. Hopefully he doesn't get sent off and I haven't cursed him. But normally with the tactics that we're playing, you know, a bunch of players closing each other down, you would expect to see more yellow cards. I don't think Chelsea are necessarily, you know, such a closing down team. I actually have to pay attention to the way they're playing in just a second, but they've already gotten 2 yellows and we've only managed 1, which is good. Normally, if you're playing a ball-winning midfielder, you have to expect them to have a yellow card almost every game. It just kind of comes part and parcel. Having said what I mentioned earlier, Sturridge is feeling a knock, and I definitely have to substitute him. Coutinho's had a horrible game as well. That's not good to see. We'll bring on Mane, and for Sturridge, we'll bring on Salah, I guess, but he's definitely not a complete forward. We tried him in that role last time, so we'll have to switch things around. Maybe we should probably, you know what, let me make the substitutions and then bring up the tactics board. Alright. So I think we should actually move Mane up front. Salah can play as a striker, but what can he play as? We need him decent as a false 9, I suppose, but I think Mane would actually be better as a false 9, isn't it? Yeah, he's a bit more of a natural. So move Mane in the striker role, change that to a false 9. Neither player seemed to do well in the complete forward role, because obviously that requires a ton of strength. We can move Salah back out to the right, play him as an inside forward. Chamberlain on the left as an inside forward is very suitable. He's right-footed, and obviously he's got the attributes for it too. I think that's it. I think we can keep it. Let's see how the players perform now. Well, there's an immediate highlight, and hopefully it's in our favour. Kante, Bakayoko. Midfielders seem to be doing quite well, keeping those two under wraps, but can't speak too soon. Willian on the ball. Probably going to put a dangerous ball into the box. Hazard's on it. Thank God that's off the upright and behind, because Moreno, or is that Vidal actually, sorry, wrong side, did not have Hazard under wraps there. It's a bit concerning. Salah gives the ball away, and suddenly we're looking a bit weak in terms of attacking. Having said that, Salah puts a hell of a tackle in, probably a long range shot. Yeah. Decent, I suppose, but it would have been smarter if she actually found someone. I don't want to panic and go into a 4-4-1-1. We are still dominating the game, but Chelsea showing hints that it's not quite over yet. So we'll take off Marco for Adam Lallana and see whether that can bring some sort of creativity and another goal to our side. Lallana is such an incredible player whenever I played him, in truth. I'm a huge fan of his, having watched the way he plays. I haven't watched too much, to be fair, but just based on what I've seen so far, he's definitely the attacking midfielder for us. Chelsea have made a bit of a tactical tweak and gone with the Christmas tree formation, a very attacking 3-4-3. Now this is where I have to decide, do I switch up tactics as well? And I think I will, in truth. I think we will go with a 4-4-1-1, try and expose them on the break, and try and just deal with this midfield problem. To be honest, I could go with a 4-2-3-1 with 2 DMs. That would make sense to counter the 2 defensive midfielders. I want to try and still catch them on the break because they've got no real width outright on the flanks. I just made the tweak and then it's a highlight. Great. We're the ones who are in trouble. Willian, Vidal cleared quite well. Mane, can he try and force an error? Do not tell me that making the tweak is the problem, please. I always know that I should just stick with the tactic that's worked all game. Having said that, Mane on the ball, loses it. No, finds Lallana really well. Finish it. Oh, why is he being so unselfish? Salah. Oh, and it eventually goes in, so Lallana's alright. And that helps us 2-0 just before. See, I knew I'm such a tactical genius. I knew I should have gone into the 4-4-1-1. But Lallana, that was incredibly strange. I mean, just unusually selfish. But this is what the false nine can do so well. One hell of a ball. You think he's about to lose it, but instead he finds Lallana through. And he decides to find Salah in an unusual angle. Tries to play it back to Lallana. And thankfully that just sort of bounces off Fabregas and goes into the goal. So a bit of a silly own goal. A bit of an unrealistic one if you ask me. That doesn't really happen in real life. The game is not over yet. 88 minutes and there's still another highlight. Is it us again, or are Chelsea going to finally grab their goal? Salah sort of sleeping there. Willian comes back to win it and he plays it all the way back to Rudiger. Boys, try and keep them there as long as possible. We're not really closing down for a team who is supposed to be closing down as often as they are. Hazard though loses out to Alberto, but Fabregas is still on it for his team. Can we put a serious tackle in? Eventually he does, and Milner sends Mane on the way for the counter. Long range shot probably. No, he finds Salah really well. And what's the Egyptian going to do? Good ball across. Lallana down to Chamberlain. And Zappacosta finally putting another ball into his net. So we've scored twice, having made the tactical switch. And yeah, both own goals. I mean, the game always makes you feel like whatever tactical tweak you've made, you're going to be punished for. The initial start of the highlights always makes you think you're going to concede 20 goals, but it definitely was the smarter move to make. Chelsea was starting to slowly grow into the game. We could have caught them on the counter. As you can see right now, they've quickly switched back to their actual formation because they realised they're being caught out on the counter. And so, credit to our players for doing a good job, and there's still one more highlight before the end of the game, and I think this time we'll see Chelsea score a goal, because I don't think we're going to catch them out on the counter like this. They've gone back to their actual formation. So there you go, that's the quick through ball that I was talking about, which is dangerous. Thankfully Simon actually comes out a goal as the sweeper keeper and just mops up the danger. But if it was a bit of a better ball, you would think Morata's through there, and our centre backs couldn't really catch up to him. But anyways, it's back with us through Alberto. Are we going to get a fourth, or are Chelsea going to get a first? A clean sheet would be lovely. 3-0 result is as dominant as it can be. And Chamberlain finds Salah really well. What's the Egyptian going to do this time? And I guess you could call that a shot. It looked like it was a good through ball for a second, but he just overhit it. And, the game calls it a shot. I reckon that was a bit more of a shot as well, and that's just, if it was, that was as bad as it gets from the Egyptian. He's an incredible player, I'm not going to lie to you. He's got a bunch of assists. He's not doing as well as he is in real life, but in terms of game, he's doing as good as ever. The problem, if you ask me, is that he's a bit inconsistent within a 90-minute match. So if, let's say he does 5 things, he'll do maybe 4 of them wrong, but the one thing he does do right is incredible and often wins you the points single-handedly. And I feel like that's kind of how he is in real life as well, to be honest. I've watched him with Egypt numerous times. I've followed him whenever Chelsea had played him in the big game. Well, he didn't really play the big games in Chelsea, but whenever Liverpool played him in the big games, for example, because obviously I don't follow Chelsea or Liverpool, but I do watch the big ones, Chelsea versus Arsenal, Liverpool versus Everton, for example, those type of games. And so I'd see him there sometimes, but the truth is I watched him more often with Egypt, and it just seems like that's the type of player he is. Maybe when he matures more, he'll become more of a rounded and more consistent player within the 90 minutes of a match. But don't get me wrong, I mean, that's not a criticism at all. Some players are just like that, and that's all they need to have an impact on the game. So fair play to him. If he wants to disappear for 89 minutes of the match and appear in one of them, and that 1 minute is that decisive moment of the game, then who cares, as long as he's performing, isn't it? So credit to him. Definitely an incredible player, and it's really nice to see him do really well at Liverpool as well. Having said that, we've got our crucial 3 points. Unfortunately for us, City have gotten theirs against Bournemouth, but that's what makes this round of Premier League fixtures so important, because we had such a huge game, and City were playing against a team that would normally be a so-called smaller team, but because of how well they were performing this season, you'd worry about facing them a little bit. Having said that, it's good that Bournemouth were pushed down by City. and Chelsea were pushed down by ourselves. Manchester United won their game against Brighton, so we'll have to deal with them in another day, but we definitely still want to get that win against them. The first Premier League game we showed you, the first episode of this series, we drew against Manchester United, and I'm still a little bit upset about that result because I wanted to see us obviously start with a win and at the same time just, you know, beat our rivals. Anyways, I think that's kind of it. So we've, you know, a really great result. We'll sort of continue on. We do want to, that was the, you know, the fixture of November. We want to show you the match of December, and there's going to be quite a few of them, of course. Winter time always calls for a bunch of games. We have an incredibly tough run, I'm sure you guys have noticed already, but just to go through each fixture, the Stoke, I don't think that's necessarily to show. Atletico Madrid, in terms of Champions League, we've actually done really well after beating Bayern and Besiktas. That leaves us in a good position. I think the last episode we weren't doing too good. There's one more game left, but we are top of the table, and if we do beat Atletico Madrid, or I think even just keep a draw, we will advance, and Bayern are going to be in trouble, because, you know, unless they beat Besiktas by a huge result, their goal difference is still less than Atletico Madrid. So considering we're the group of death, we've done really well. The board should be happy, but we do still need to get into the quarterfinals before we show you any of those games. Burnley also Carabao Cup quarterfinal draw with them. I think we showed you that last episode actually. But yeah, I mean, until we get to the final, no point showing you this either. So yeah, Stoke, Atletico Madrid, Watford, West Brom, Newcastle, a bunch of games we should really be winning. And then we have these three here, dangerous three, Manchester City, Tottenham and United. Now, based on the current way of how the table looks, it would make sense to show you the City game because that's going to be a huge one. It could possibly decide where the title ends up. But yeah, we do also have to face Tottenham and Manchester United, who are both very tough teams, of course. We've already shown you Manchester United, so I'm a bit, you know, reluctant to show you that again. Tottenham or City is probably the most likely ones, and I think I would show you City instead. But it really depends on when we reach, by the time we reach that, you know, that fixture, what the table looks like. But yeah, you can expect us to be back for Manchester City, and if we can get through, actually it's 4, I didn't even notice Arsenal there. If we can get through these run of fixtures here, and, you know, still be towards the top of the table, whether in first or second, I reckon we can definitely be Premier League winners. We've had some serious runs of misfortune, to be honest. I think in the start of the season we had Manchester United, Tottenham and Arsenal all in 3 games in the Premier League after each other. And so the computer that comes up with the schedule, I suppose, has really been unfair to us, I suppose. It didn't spread it out throughout the season. But in a way that can also work towards your favour, because teams will think, oh no, they're out of the competition if you've lost all 3 games. But you know, you start beating all the small teams and suddenly you're back in it again. So you know, as big as the big games are, they're not as important, because not as important as everyone makes it out to be, because obviously it's a marathon and a day, not really a race. But yeah, I reckon if you face the top 6 and just get draws against all of them and beat all the small teams, you would definitely still become the Premier League champion, because of, you know, the way the table works, isn't it? It's 20 teams and not just 6, and you're one of the top 6, so that's 5 teams. You still have to beat the other 15 teams, or 14, sorry. But yeah, I think Manchester City, so I think that's all for today's episode. And if you did enjoy it, then of course please do hit the like button, subscribe and leave a comment as well. You know, for more daily Football Manager 2018 content. And as always guys, thank you all very much for watching.